So how to make a X-book. So first, you want to make sure you have the right tools on hand. I usually have a bone folder or a similar tool that is clean and ready to use. Sometimes I use like a plastic palette knife or a wood paint stir or a tongue depressor popsicle stick. Or sometimes I use things like the back side of like a butter knife. Just be careful if you're using metal that you put another piece of paper or something between the paper you're creasing with this. Just because sometimes if you use a metal instrument for creasing paper, it might leave a shiny mark, which sometimes is cool, sometimes it's distracting. So if you don't have a bone folder, which is a very handy tool if you get into bookmaking of any kind or just crafts, scrapbooking, it's handy to have one of these around. And they make some that are not made out of bone as well, so if you're concerned about that, they do have some out there that are a different kind of plastic. But okay, so the first step, I take my piece of paper and I fold it in half like a hot dog. So what I do is I take the corners and I match the corners along the top and the bottom. And if you're using a cutting mat to line things up, I will line it up with a corner like so. And I'll take my bone folder and I'll just kind of spread it out from the center and keeping my eye out. If I had folded this right to begin with, it should just line right up. And take it from the center and swoop. And maybe I'll go over it one more time. And now open it back up. So full sheet of paper. Rotate it 90 degrees and fold it one more time. Making sure the corners meet. So I'm lining mine up with my cutting mat, which has 90-degree angles just to make sure. And from the center, I work my way out. Sometimes if you start on one side and go to the other, it might just have a minute crease from one side to the other that doesn't quite match up. And sometimes it happens, like I think right now it happened a little bit. So if you see that happening, you can kind of reformat it and just go back over that crease one more time. All right, so now that I'm here, I'm going to take the top side and fold it backwards to the folded over crease. So here we go. And kind of moving my bone folder. Here we go. So it kind of looks like that. And I'm going to flip this over, have this here, and then flip this back to the same crease in the center. And at first, it might not look like it's going to line up, but so long as you folded it in half to begin with, once you spread this out a little bit, it should match up just fine. So you can open it back up. Now the next part, you will need a X-Acto knife, or I have another Olfa knife, or you can just use scissors, whatever you have on hand. And if you are using something like this, the X-Acto knife or other retractable blade, you might consider using a metal ruler so that you can use the ruler to line up your blade, but it won't go through your ruler. Now we're going to open this back up unless you're going to use scissors. So what we're going to do is cut from here to here, from here to here, right in the center, in the kind of 4 panels. So if you have scissors, you can actually leave it like this and cut here from bottom to top. But since I'm kind of finicky and sometimes I'm not the best at using scissors, I find I have a lot more control if I use a ruler. So I line it up so that I can just see the center line and the other 3 lines. And I'll take my X-Acto knife and starting at one panel, usually the one further from me, and I draw the tool towards myself. So I'll start here, pull towards myself, and voila. And so I have a cut right at the center. So if I start to fold it right here, it folds into this guy. So there's like almost like a diamond shape. Take this, pinch it, and then you can take the 2 folded over ones and take it over to one side and then fold this over. I often find that it's kind of normal that it doesn't always 100% match up perfectly, even if you had been very careful about matching edges. This is kind of normal, so one of my pages is kind of slightly curling inward. So I'm just going to take my bone folder once this is here and just kind of try to straighten it up a little bit and refold the crease. Okay, so moving forward, for planning out your design that you're going to create within your book, this is great for stories, narratives, for even greeting cards, or writing poems or short stories in. I suggest doing what's called a mock-up. And a mock-up is similar to a draft for an essay. So this will not be the final, but this will allow you to do as much planning and arranging as possible in advance. And so you can go back and edit it as needed. So one thing I usually do is I mark where the cover is. So I say like front cover, and you might even write top or T for top. And back cover you might do the same. Although maybe you'll be able to tell depending on the direction of your writing, you know. So I have the front cover, back, and then inside pages I might write at the bottom corners 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then back. So what you'll see is once you unfold this, is that half of your design, the top will be along the middle crease, and then the other half will be upside down. So for those of you planning single prints before cutting or printing or pasting, consider that your design has to be you have to think ahead and design it in such a way where maybe you have 4 panels that face one direction and 4 panels that face up in the other, but once they're together, one side will kind of be rotated. So think ahead as you make these for your designs. I think I can, for an example with this book, if I unfold it, you can see that one half of it is upside down. But also when I unfold it, you can kind of see that I had certain sections that were green. And so sometimes you can think of this design as a whole, but as you can see, one side is upside down from the other. Of course, the back side, you can see the windows and the grandma with the shotgun. So you'll have to think ahead in your design for this image. But I think it's a fun format to experiment with and pretty easy, and it allows you to, I guess, design in a slightly different way than just a strict image. And so this is fun for exploring a whole series, or for even, I've seen some people have like one full design with an image, but then once things are folded, they experiment with text, but you don't get the full impact of, or you don't see the full connections until after you've read it and you've opened it all the way up. So have fun, enjoy. Can't wait to see your own X books.